Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're really excited to have you joining us this morning. Be sure, like we were mentioning, make sure to get your café con leche, settle down, get nice and cozy if you can, and sit down for what's going to be a fantastic show. We are on show number 50.
Today was celebrating show number 50. Wow.
I don't know what the first anniversary is called. I don't know if there's a color attached to it, if it's just the first anniversary.
Survival.
Survival. There you go. The survival anniversary. We made it. We are still here, and we're still functioning on Today y Mañana. We're going to have a fantastic show lined up for you today. We're going to be joined momentarily by Jeff Kamrath, the owner of Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash, followed by Miguel Coradine, founder of and CEO of Sirius Insurance, and Karolina Medina from Sirius Insurance, as well as Nickolas and Urpí from Emergent Financial Services. So we're just very excited to have you all joining us today. Thanks you to the audience for making this possible for a year.
It's going to be a packed day. This is a big day.
It's going to be a big day, but a fun day, as always. On Today y Mañana, we're really excited, of course, to be here on the I Love CVille Network. We're presented by Emergent Financial Services. We are powered by CVille Picnic, by GBS Financial Services, I should say, by Vitae Spirits, by Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash, by Sirius Craddock Insurance, and new to this week, we're really excited, our newest sponsor, our partner, I should say, is Castle Hill Cider.
Oh, wow, terrific, terrific. Good job.
Shortly, they're going to be joining us on the show later on and talking about all that's new there, the things you can go see when you go up there, and the cider you can enjoy. So we're really excited to.
Hopefully the weather gets a little warmer, right?
As it gets warmer, nice. Although I think their room already, like they have like some like open room that Nick was telling me when it was Christmas time, they had like the fire pits and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
so
terrific.
They bring in cider too?
That's what we're hoping. They brought cider last time, so we're like, okay, come on, let's get some cider again. So
I can see who Nickolas really tries to bring in, right?
He's like, what would I enjoy as a free sample? Right. Oh, that would be a great person to bring on the show. So it's going to be fantastic. As always, we are with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So just a fantastic show that I'm looking forward to today. Just a lot to cover. I know you're really excited about the anniversary section. It's been,
well, I think
this
is great. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about it a little later. But I mean, like I said, I remember the first day brutally. Yeah. Remember the first day.
It's like,
we woke up and
we have to go and actually be in front of the camera.
What were we thinking about when we did this? But it's been a great ride.
It has. It's been a fantastic.
Of course,
ride.
I have to admit, you make this very easy for me because I just sit back and listen to you with the introduction, and I don't have to think about anything. And then when people come in, once in a while, I throw in a question here and there, and that's it. Just chit chat. Absolutely.
The easier part. You don't have to memorize the opening.
That's right.
I have that covered for you. But I mean, we'll get right to it. I'm excited to get right to it. So we're really. Fantastic to welcome to the show Jeff Kamrath. He's the owner of Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash, and he's back on Today y Mañana. Jeff, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing
fantastic.
Well.
Very good.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think we were just talking about it. The last time I was on, it was my wife and I's our 10th wedding anniversary. Now you guys have 1 year. It's like a thing.
Yes, yeah, we're timing it. We're timing it perfectly.
10 years. Wow, that's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, she hadn't killed me yet. Yeah.
Like you said, survival.
There's still time for that, right?
Survival. The longer it goes, the more you survive. But tell us a little bit, how has it been? I imagine, how's this month been for the start of 2022 for Aqua CVille?
Well, we had a great December. I think the last time we were on was the beginning of December. Mm-hmm. We had our best month on record, which was awesome.
Nice. Super.
The weather was unbelievable in December, as people can remember. I mean, we were wearing shorts on Christmas, basically.
Exactly.
And with all the holiday sales and coupons and promotions, it was just a great month. And then you go right after the new year, and it's just snow. It's low temperatures. It's ice.
Yep.
It's been a really tough month. So it's funny how, whoever you bend the knee to at night can kind of just, bring it back to you. It's you can get humbled really quickly.
That's right. Absolutely.
So it's been one of those months, but we're doing fine. I mean, it's the nice part about it. The days that we are able to be open with the temperature or the snow, they've been great days because people need to get those cars clean. So it's been fun on those days, shorter days. So we've had to be creative with our staffing to make sure the guys get their hours and things like that. Absolutely. So that's the toughest part. and you're trying to make some decisions in the best interest of the team as a whole. And sometimes that means one or two guys may not get an extra day's worth of work or a couple extra hours. So,
Right.
But our general manager, Jared, does a great job of kind of managing that on a day-to-day basis, and we're in constant communication to do that. So it's been good. We're looking for some drier and maybe some warmer weather hopefully coming. Maybe February can be one of those early spring years. We're hopeful. So we'll see.
So I have interesting because you said temperature. So if the temperature is below a certain degree, does that mean you literally cannot even wash cars? Is that possible?
So there's a lot of factors. Obviously, temperature is the main one. So water freezes at 32 degrees. But with the sun out and the way the situation of the parking lot is, it really comes down to water on the ground. When the water on the ground slushes up and turns to ice, you get a slip risk, injury risk, accident risk, and so you have to kind of be careful. What we've learned over the couple of years that we've been here, the way the sun comes up on our particular piece of property, if it's sunny and 28 degrees at about 8 o'clock, we can open because the sun will hit the asphalt and warm it up enough to keep the ice from slushing on the ground. But if it's cloudy, it could be over freezing. 32, 33, 34, and there's still a slush factor. The ice won't melt down. So it really depends on the factors of the day. The sun is actually one of the biggest ones. And then it just comes down to temperature. Some wind chill can affect it. So like today, for instance, we'll open at noon because it's an ice cube out there right now.
Sure.
And then during the winter, this is the first year we've done it, but because of the heavy amount of snow and ice we've had, we actually removed our canopies because they're canvas and they can sag, and they're difficult to dump, which we typically do, but it allows more sunlight to get into the wash area. A, keeps guys warmer on colder days, but B, allows for some of that melting. So we've done that, which is a first for us as well. But we're getting by, and our team is great. They don't complain. Even when it's cold, too much, obviously. So yeah, we're doing all right.
Do they have to wear special gloves or anything? Because if they're touching water, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, so most of our guys, when they're detailing cars, will wear the nitrile gloves just to keep their hands, out of some less than sanitary conditions at times. We also buy our team just the mechanicals type gloves, but our wash guys, we actually heat the water. So being in horse country, I learned this quickly. Our first winter, we had cold water and we had to teach our guys how to glove up. But we ended up going to Tractor Supply and buying horse trough heaters. There's these circular little discs that you can stick in the water and they heat up the water, and the water gets actually pretty warm and hot. So guys are kind of fighting in the winter to sometimes get into the wash bay because they can get their hands in the hot water and wash the cars. So, and we do some other things here and there to help out. Like, for instance, we'll keep the cars running with the defroster on so that the Windex will dry up and things like that. But those are just some of the small changes you have to make. Whereas in the summer, you may leave the car running on a 100-degree day with the AC cranked up because it's just so hot,
Because you put the water just evaporates immediately or something like that?
Yeah, it can. Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing just the little things that go into...
The devil's in the details, man.
Absolutely,
It is. And the unexpected, you can't... We were just chatting this morning that you can't, as an entrepreneur, you really can't just plan out your day because something's going to happen.
Something's going to break every day. Something's going to, somebody's going to call out sick, or some piece of equipment that you didn't realize was that fundamental goes down, and it's that fundamental. I can't tell you how many times I've run up to Lowe's to buy a pressure washer on the fly because, one of our pressure washers, the pump goes out, and it's going to take 3 weeks to get it replaced, and it's a super nice commercial grade electric one, but in the meantime the little residential one will have to do.
Exactly.
And so I should buy stock in Lowe's, to be honest. So
you and me put together. I don't know why.
My wife, every weekend, she's like, do we have a Lowe's trip this weekend? Of course we do.
Naturally.
And if you're listening, hon, I know, and I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, it's just it's the way it works, and it's just as you look forward, there's always, for every new year, there's also, I think, there's those short-term things, those devils and details things, and then every year you have to sort of be thinking, I feel, as an entrepreneur, what are going to be some challenges and opportunities I have to work through this year, even in the long-term planning phase of it. That's
absolutely right. So the trick is to give yourself the creative mind space to kind of take the step back and to think through, how did this year go? what can we do at a macro level, at a 30,000 foot level, to fundamentally impact the business, both from a security and health standpoint as we're currently operating, but into a growth mindset of how can you kind of progress the development of your business. And us being almost 4 years old, we're kind of in that weird in-between space. We've survived the first couple of years, right? And I would definitely use the word survive in that moment. Everybody can remember 2018 when it rained so much, and then COVID. So, and now it's into, okay, how can we, get repeatable, get consistent, both with our quality of service, our retention of our customers and our employees. And how do we get better at that? How do we get better with messaging, outreach, marketing, and then just fundamentally growing the business. And so you have to really take a step back. So we've been able to do this because we have great people on our team. So our general manager, Jared, he's one of the original 2 employees. I think I shared that last time. We have 2 original employees still. And Chris, who is our site manager now, who's 22 years old, full-time college student, killing it. And I couldn't step away and work outside of the office, which is what I need to do, because the phone rings so much, the emails come in, and you just get pulled in so many different directions. Like the devil's in the details, and those things are important, but you have to kind of push those aside for a little bit, trust that the people can handle those those decisions, and then so you can kind of take a step back. So I've really focused on performance reporting for our highest employees, so they give them some goal setting going forward. And then how do you layer that on top of or underneath your overarching mindset goals, your what you believe you can potentially do from a business standpoint, the relationships you want to make in the local market, you guys being a great example, being able to sponsor you guys, and then growing the business as we're developing a second car wash in Zion Crossroads. So all that to be said is, and I know every business owner out there knows this, being able to kind of take that step back is so vital. It's so hard to do, and it's scary, especially for new business owners to actually, take that step back, let your foot off the gas a little so that you can kind of let your brain percolate on some of those things and solve some of those bigger questions in your mind.
It reminds me of I remember reading one time about the 4 quadrants of business, where you've got your urgent and important. And that's where, you have to do it, but you ideally want, it's the beauty of being able to delegate that to people that you trust and say, okay, you can deal with urgent and important. There's the very tempting quadrant of urgent but not important, where it's okay, yeah, I gotta send this email, let me do that, or I have to do this thing quickly, where it's it's really not that important, but it can feel urgent. And then, of course, you've got not urgent and not important, which is ideally, you don't want to spend any time there. And then the hardest one, I remember reading, the hardest one to spend time in is the important but not urgent. And there's where your long-term growth planning is, because it's there's always something to tempt you and this is more urgent, but is it as important as that?
And that's usually the biggest importance, right? You can't grow your business without taking a step back, because you may start asking these large-scale fundamental questions that you can't solve by sitting down and instantly thinking about, I need to solve it with this X or this O. It's more of, fundamentally, your brain has to have time to process the challenges and use its creativity. It's almost artistic in a way, right?
It is.
And I don't want to, just, poo-poo the idea that it is an artistic approach. It has to be, because you have to solve problems uniquely and differently as you grow the business, because they're not going to be the same. Your challenges as a first-year business and a 5th year or 10th year business are just different. So you have to let your brain have a chance to have an opportunity to kind of roll that around a little, sauce it up and shoot holes in it. And most of it gets thrown to the side because you realize it's hogwash, it's not any good. And you go, okay, but I'm going to take this 10% that kind of seems to have something there, and let me start working on that, and let me start bouncing it off some trusted sources. So you can use your employees to do that, the ones you trust. My wife, who is my unbelievably best sounding board in the world, and she shoots more holes than I care to count, which frustrates me to no end, but she's right
it's so valuable.
99.9% of the time, right? And because she's actually not in the day-to-day operations, she can kind of see it at a higher level.
She's already up there, yeah.
Now, she'll ask some questions like, why don't you do this, this, or this? And I'll have to say, oh, you don't understand. It would take too long to explain. And that's not to say I don't value that she understands that. It's just that doesn't help the conversation, I think, progress because, it doesn't. But she has this unique ability to sit a little higher and think about it. And then, for instance, like people that I trust close, my brother who owns his own wash, who's been in business for 12 years, my parents, who my dad's owned his own business for years, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, who's works for our CPA. So it's just, you get that circle of people really tight to you that you can trust, that you can say, hey, no judgment, but I'm going to throw this at you. Shoot holes in it, please.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think one of the hardest things also for small businesses as you start is that you usually have a tendency to do a lot for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually you realize that you truly do have to delegate, and you have to trust the people you delegate to. And the problem with small business is that takes time also, because you're so, like you said, the devil is in the details, and you make sure that everything is perfect, and you just want to make sure that whoever you hand that to is thinking the way you're thinking, because now you're nervous, right?
Sure.
You give it away, and now you feel like, I gave that function away, but I also have to look and make sure they're doing it right. So now you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that.
Not to micromanage them when you make that decision.
Absolutely.
So it's, you decide to hand that off.
Exactly.
And then you have to trust that you've done what you need to do, so that you don't just stand over their shoulder looking over them.
Yeah.
Which I think, if you're the type of person who's owned and operate their own business, you tend to always want to micromanage, because you do believe that you can do it better and more efficiently, and maybe you can, right? Like maybe you can, but at what's the cost of that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's like you said, it's the growth when you need to grow. It's like
for 2.5 years, I washed cars every day.
Yeah.
Part of it was I needed to know what I'm asking guys to do. That
Sure.
there is a component of that, but there was a point of diminishing return that I went way past.
Yeah.
Like from an honest assessment standpoint, like I probably could have figured that out in a year and a half, and then had a whole year of not doing that to think about growing the business, instead of coming home trying to do it all night long or whatever it is. And so hopefully like that cycle speeds up quicker for the next business, right? So you get into it, you understand what you need to know, you understand, and then you have to learn quickly, what do I need to delegate, and how do I do that effectively and quickly, and how do I identify the people that can do it? So, like I said, we've been really fortunate. We have some great team members, and now the trick is not just to identify your kind of your top of the line, like my managers. What does that next level look like? What are the up and comers looking like, and how do you teach your management staff to then do the delegating, so that you don't have to delegate again, right? And so that's what we're currently in that cycle, right? So I work really hard with our managers and GM to give them autonomy to solve problems, come in when necessary to answer questions or poke holes, and then B, like, hey, you guys need to start working with these guys on your own for your own development too. It's not just for me, it's your own career development, because maybe they don't want to work at car washes for the rest of their life. I hope they would love to work with us, but who knows?
That's right.
But I would be doing them a disservice by not getting them the opportunity to experience that. So
absolutely, it's reaching that new phase. Because I remember reading one time that I think most small businesses that succeed cross that 5-year mark. Like that's where after that there's a tendency that they will not fail after that point. And so, but that's when you enter into a whole new realm. Because now it's no longer just like, okay, make it to the next year. Now you're approaching, okay, what needs to happen to, and also I think as a small business owner, sometimes it's also reflecting back and saying, what are my actual goals?
Yeah.
Like, because it's easy in the first 5 years, like, what's my goal? Survive. Like, make this business still be here next year. But then you reach a point where it's like, okay, this business, if I do nothing, might just continue the way it's going. But what do I want out of it? What's the next step that I actually want as the small business owner? Which sometimes it's hard to get there because we're just so involved in the day-to-day. And
how do you not sacrifice the quality that's gotten you to that point? Like the reason we still exist after 4 years for us is our customer service and our quality. So how do you do that, not being involved on a day-to-day basis, without sacrificing what the customer receives on the end? That's not to say we bat 1,000. I said this last time. Yep. We make mistakes. We're human. But as a function of the vast scale of services that we do, that quality stays at this incredibly high mark that we have set from the beginning, and that you're now going to delegate the operations of the day-to-day to somebody else, and then the quality has to stay the same. That's really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, and that's always the key, right? And as you mentioned, I mean, we're all human, right? And the only thing you can ask for is that, sometimes we learn by our mistakes, right? And life is full of those, and the key is there are those that learn by them and those that just ignore them. And the important thing is you say, here's a mistake, here's why it happened, and you know that the next time that's not going to happen, right? And there'll be others.
Yeah, if you can be introspective and know where you made the mistake, then you have a chance to grow. Like, I had a phone call this morning for our new car wash. We made a mistake in our site plan, and nobody caught it, myself included, until it got to the point where we were ready to cut this curb, and this other business owner was like, whoa, what's going on? We don't, and it was like, oh my God, like, we made a really bad mistake, and nobody caught it, and I'm sure there was some anger and frustration, and look, she was awesome, number one, just to hear me out, but number two is like, hey, we're going to apologize. We're sorry. Here's why it happened. We're going to learn from this. And yes, we've made a mistake, and we're going to learn from it. And B, how do we solve this? How do we make it so that you understand that this was an accident, and how do we move forward and progress our relationship? Because we're going to be neighbors for a long time, and we'd love to have a great relationship, and we want to do everything we can to show you that that's the case. And so, and we had a wonderful conversation, and there's looks to be some resolution on it, but that's because if we double down on it, how does that go?
Absolutely.
That conversation goes really poorly.
Exactly.
Very quickly.
And there's antagonism, there's an antagonistic relationship there, and it's not good. So, and I said this last time too, is I say this to my employees almost every day, it's fail fast, fail fast. We failed big time in that decision, and we're going to learn really fast from it. So, but guess what? If we ever build another car wash, hopefully we will, we won't make that mistake again.
Exactly.
I promise you that. So
that's what it is. You build, and sometimes you come out the better for it, because then you implement like procedures, things, you put things into your business plan that now prevent that from happening again. But then also, I think, pay dividends in other ways. So sometimes you don't have a plan of action. You're doing something because it's always been done this way. You make a mistake. You sit back and say, you know what? If I had only had this set of procedure, this in line here, I wouldn't have made that mistake. And then you find out afterwards, you know what? Doing it this way not only prevents that mistake, it's actually better off than doing it the first way I was doing it.
Well, I was listening to a podcast with Jordan Peterson on it, and he makes a really interesting comment, regardless of what you feel about Jordan Peterson, but it was, what function does memory serve? And does it serve just so that you can remember the moment, or does it serve to educate you for the future? And memory is designed so that you put your hand on a hot stove one time, you're not going to put your hand on a hot stove again. Memory, that's not a good memory. But you're not going to do that again. And so, to your point, how do we make sure that doesn't happen again from a procedural standpoint, X's and O's, operations, engineering, wherever the failure ended up being. But B, how am I going to engage with that person? That conversation went really well, and I'm going to remember that how they treated me and I treated them got us way farther down the road. So it's not just the X's and O's, it's the relationship side too. And so I really feel that, obviously starting out of a place of respect, just interacting with anybody, and especially in these times right now that we're in, where there's so much like going back and forth, I think you could say that whole idea of how you engage with people, whether it's business or you could take it to the hot topic of the day for masking, right? It's like, how do you treat people? If you come with respect, you're going to get more out of the conversation, whether you agree or don't at the end of the day. And so for us, like, I've learned, that lesson got learned really, I wasn't learned, but it was strengthened in that moment to have that conversation that way. So
yeah, exactly. It's the question of like, do you engage in relationships in a way that may temporarily resolve the problem but lead to long-term damage in the relationship, or do you engage in a way that even if you may not come to an agreement on the particular topic at hand, the situation at hand, now leads to a more fruitful relationship in the long term?
Well, I'd flip it back to you guys in your business, right? Like, you may have to share a piece of bad news with a client about their portfolio or whatnot, but you're creating trust in that you're not going to sugarcoat it to them, and you also come with a game plan of how we're going to defend this. And guess what? That client trusts you more out of the conversation. So it doesn't always have to be you're sharing the best of news,
no,
but shared honestly, respectfully, and give options, right? And so, I mean, it's
handling
good lessons to learn.
Especially what we do.
Right.
It's like
This last week.
we don't
I bet, right?
We just don't have one of those,
Last month. Just when the client calls, I mean, you're not going to sugarcoat it and say, yeah, market's down big, but your portfolio is like, no, I said, you know what? Yeah, the market's down, your portfolio's down. Here's what we said we would do for you. Here's how it's playing out. Right? And as long as, and for us, we always talk about, like, the key is, and I think this works in all businesses, not just finance side, did you do what you say you would do?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then there's going to be other circumstances where the result isn't what you intended. So I mean, obviously the result that you intend in the markets is always that it goes up. Right. We all know that's not going to happen all the time. But the question is, did we take the level of risk that we said we were going to take?
Right.
And as long as the answer is yes, that sometimes the result isn't going to look good. Right. You're going to sit there and say, well,
then you reevaluate your plan.
Reevaluate.
Right.
But always say, there's always opportunities when something goes wrong sometimes. Right?
It's
I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, during COVID, I mean, you guys learned a lot about your business. How do we streamline it? What else can we do to make this work during a pandemic or during other, situations that come about? And I think a lot of people have learned that.
I mean, look at the restaurant business. I mean, or any other business that has survived and in some cases thrived during COVID. I don't think it's because they took advantage. I think it's because business owners evolved quickly because they had to. And some of those decisions that you make that you were thinking about for a long time, like, oh, we should think about this, the hand was forced, right? It's like you had to go all in with your chips, right? Yep. You had a pretty decent hand of cards, but you didn't want to kind of risk it. And finally you're looking at, I got a pocket pair of nines. That's got to be good enough. We'll see how that goes. And it works, right? And it does. And sometimes it doesn't, right? And you hope that it does. But the idea is you try to take smart risks, because you're going to have to do that from time to time. But you don't want to be dumb about it, and you hopefully don't want to have to risk everything to do it, right? You want to try to do it in an intelligent way. So, but yeah, to your point, we did make a lot of changes during COVID, and those changes for us have been really good. I don't see us getting rid of a lot of them, you know. So we're fortunate in that regard.
Entirely. It's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You made some changes, and if you take it seriously and you're good about it and you're introspective, like you said, you come out ahead even out of difficult circumstances.
Yeah. And you hopefully don't kick yourself for not making that change earlier.
Exactly. And if you do, like you said, you're humming about it, you know what? Should have made it earlier, but it is what it is.
Exactly.
I'm it now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. Oh, Jeff, this has been such.
That's great, man. Thanks for having me.
Love having
Thank you so much. Learned so much. I like that.
We got to do this again. We'll make this a regular.
I'll be happy to.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash. You'll find it tagged. You'll find it on Facebook. You can't miss it. It'll be on. You'll see it on the Today Mañana page. Got some as we switch here and bring in Miguel and Karolina. Got some great people watching the show today. Just a little thanks to Johnny Nickolas watching the show. Amigo del programa. We got Laura Medina de Alfonso watching the show. We got Todd Proctor and Elizabeth LaMarche watching the show today.
Okay.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone.
Do we have them in the right spot here?
I think we do. We do.
Terrific.
We double checked with Judah before we started. Right? Okay, what's the seats? We gotta.
It would look a little funny if under Miguel it says Carolina, and I mean, I'm sure they won't even know about it until later. But that's okay.
None of us would know. I mean, Judah could pull a swap on us one day and say, "I'm going to change the name."
That's
and
right.
Alex will say Xavier, and Xavier will say Alex, and we would never know. We do the whole show,
right.
And then afterwards, our mom would call and say, "He had your names in the wrong spot. I watched. It wasn't in the right place."
We're humans.
Absolutely.
It happens. It happens.
I know, we can switch.
Buenos días.
Buenos días, mira. Buenos días, Carolina. ¿Cómo
Buenos
está?
Buenos días, ¿cómo están?
Muy bien. Es un placer como siempre.
My pleasure, and thank you very much for having us here, and congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. Okay. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you, Miguel. We
Same
appreciate
here.
that.
We big friend of the program, big friend of ours. So we just love having you on and talking about it. So I mean, my first question would be what's new with Sirius Insurance in 2021, 2022. But I mean, one thing that's new is Karolina.
Yay!
That's the new thing. Yeah, so that's new.
Thank you.
So Karolina, I mean, déjanos saber poco de su historia y podemos leerlo en español primero y después,
¿Cómo es que fue
repetirlo
para trabajar con su esposo? Eso es imposible,
¡Qué
increíble.
pregunta! Yo creo que esa es una de las tantas preguntas que a veces nos hacen. ¿Cómo hacen ustedes para trabajar juntos? Y yo, bueno, lo más importante yo creo es la comunicación. Tenemos que tener muchísima comunicación y cuáles son nuestros límites en el trabajo y después en la casa, ¿no? Son dos cosas totalmente distintas, ¿no? Yo le digo, Miguel, tú mandas en el trabajo y en la casa es otra cosa. Pero a la comunicación creo que lo que nos ha ayudado mucho a llegar donde hemos llegado hasta ahora y comencé con Miguel el año pasado. La pandemia tuvo mucho que ver en esto también, muchos cambios. Y anteriormente estaba trabajando en otra compañía, muy buena compañía también, pero cuando comenzaron los niños a estar en casa por la pandemia, pues fue bien challenge, fue bien difícil poder trabajar y estar con ellos al mismo tiempo. Entonces, pues tuve que tomar la decisión difícil de dejar el trabajo y dedicarme a ellos.
Claro, naturalmente.
Sí, admiro mucho a esas mamás allá afuera que pudieron hacerlo los dos, de trabajar y estar con ellos, pero en mi caso no fue así, así que tuve que dedicarme a ellos. Y fue cuando vino la gran idea de Miguel de invitarme a estar con Sirius Insurance. Me dice, vamos a sacar la licencia. Y yo, ¿qué? Vamos a sacar la licencia. Sí, estuve estudiando en este tiempo para la licencia y aquí estamos apoyándonos
Perfecto.
como un negocio familiar ahora.
Well, that was very smart, right? I mean, so in other words, during that time period where you're taking care of children, which is the most important thing that you do,
Yeah.
right? As a
Exactly.
parent, as your children come
Exactly.
first, right? The family
Yeah.
comes first. But then if you have some free time, you go
Let's
ahead
go
and
do something.
do something, and studying and being able to work with Miguel
Yeah.
Insurance is probably a great thing.
Yeah.
And a great key. I love that tip on communication. Like when you're working with family, and it's funny. I think even businesses that have employees that aren't family suffer from a lack of it. Like communication is really the key there, to understand what are the
Exactly.
rules, what are the ways you interact with each other, which obviously when you're family, I mean, we know, just as well, like there are things you say at home family that you don't say at the office.
Yeah.
That you don't bring into the office. But even in a setting where you're not family, just to have that communication, to have those boundaries and say, all right, yeah, here's
Exactly.
things that we don't do at the office.
Exactly.
And then help us
Exactly.
to function better.
Yeah, this is the key. I think we always work with some boundaries. We know what to do. And when we get home, we say, okay, work is at work, and now we are sitting here as a family, and let's go talk something different. But yeah, I think that's the key, the communication part.
It is. I know, one of the things we wanted to definitely talk about, but of course, insurance, one of the major things, but it's funny, one of the most important kinds of insurance that you do, I think, is, of course, auto insurance. And I know something that a lot of people, I think, and we can do this in both English and in Espanol, I want to make sure to do it, is just the idea of, I think a lot of times, I know this is true for me, because I haven't been in an automobile accident, but you always wonder, what would I do if I was in one? I mean, who do I call? Who's my insurance thing? What are some tips I need to be in? And so what are some of the tips that you would recommend to someone when you get auto insurance for that reason. If something happens, I know what to call, but what do you do once that happens?
Or even the process,
Or even the process.
how do you get auto insurance? Because, I mean, there are times we buy a new car, there are times we buy a used car, and I think that changes how the insurance works, I suspect, right, Miguel?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question. You will be surprised of how many people don't know what to do when they have an accident, especially those people who never had an accident. They freeze, they don't know what to do. Sometimes I get calls, Miguel, I don't know what to do, So, my job is, as an insurance agent, is to educate our clients as best as possible. I even have one course that, has all the tips of what to do in case of an accident. And I'll go one by one, very easy. The first thing that you need to do is keep calm. You need to keep calm unless, if you get hurt or something, you need to call 911 immediately, It's very, very important. The second thing is pretty much, you need to do is take pictures. Pictures are evidence.
That's a good point.
Because, accidents, it can turn ugly, later on. Like, it was your fault, it was my fault, nobody knows. So it's very important, to call the police. Because the police is going to come, officer is going to have a police report, and there's nothing you cannot say later. You cannot change your statement after that.
Exactly.
It has been recorded. So I always tell my clients, look, you need to call the police so you have a report, whether it's your fault or not. It's always good to have a police report. Because people change their mind all the time.
Yeah.
Especially if the police never comes. People say one thing when they're in front of you, and then they say a whole other thing
When it comes time,
when they file the claim.
Yeah.
And you will be surprised how many people will change their statement. I can tell you this. So, and of course, you know, if it's a difficult accident where people got injured, or it's a multiple car accident, you want to make sure you have witness. Do not leave without a witness, because a witness could make a whole difference.
Yeah.
In the case, you know, excuse me. So basically, make sure you call the police, call 911 if in case you have any injuries, or you have any concerns. Make sure you take pictures, exchange ID cards is very important, because sometimes even if you agree, even if you don't call the police, if you don't agree. If you agree with the other person, it was like a minor accident, then, you can exchange cards, and telephone number and address, all of that is vital, when you get an accident, so.
So basically, so the answer is, like always, right? The most important thing is make sure that you're not hurt, and if you're hurt, either way, immediately call 911, try to get an ambulance there, try to be in control. Take pictures,
yes.
Because you're right. The pictures sometimes, they show exactly what happened, right?
Exactly.
Because if you got two people and one says, yeah, it's my fault, and like you said, then they go claim and it said, no, it was the other guy's fault, and there's no evidence, the insurance companies are going to say there's no evidence one way or the other. So at this point, it's...
And pictures are, physical evidence of what happened, and very important, take pictures before you move the vehicles, not after.
Exactly.
So as soon as you got an accident, if everybody is okay, you need to know you have the right to take pictures of the other vehicles, your vehicle, from every angle that you possibly want to do it. It is your right, so you can do it before even the police arrives.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, it's muy importante, yeah.
Very, very important, because remember, the moment the other person, let's just say it wasn't your fault, and then the other person just moves the vehicle, how are you going to prove? Even if it was a minor accident, it's worse. So,
So much to think about.
Yeah.
It's true.
It goes into the details, it's all about
Small
details.
details.
And
The devil's in the details, once again. We heard that before, right? That's so important,
Exactly. Just like
And that's
you said.
exactly right, yeah. Y la otra pregunta, porque no estoy seguro si los seguros son diferentes, pero si uno compra un coche que ya es usado, el seguro es un poco diferente si compra un coche que es nuevo. And what I'm saying is, if you buy a new car, is the insurance policy a little different than when you buy a used car? Is there something to think about when you
¿Hay
buy a
algo
used
que
car?
pensar en eso?
sí, bueno, muy buena pregunta, porque muchos de nuestros clientes a veces no saben ni siquiera si el carro ha sido, si está en buenas condiciones, si fue dado pérdida total, o sea, no saben a veces porque no saben investigar todo lo que lleva la historia o el historial del carro. Un buen consejo que yo le doy a todos mis clientes antes de comprar un carro usado, sobre todo, un carro nuevo, pues ya sabes que es un carro nuevo,
Claro.
no hay problema, pero un carro usado, así sea del 2018, y se vea como un diamante, es importante que busquen el historial del carro, y lo pueden buscar en Carfax. Ellos tienen que pagar, pero si ustedes lo están comprando en un dealer, y no importa si es un dealer usado, nuevo, ustedes tienen todo el derecho de preguntarle al dealer que le enseñen el Carfax. Y el historial, cuando ellos le enseñen el historial del carro, ahí le sale todo, ahí sale cuántos dueños tuvo, en qué año salió, desde la fábrica hasta el día de hoy, si tuvo accidentes, qué tipo de accidentes tuvo, si fue pérdida total
es
o no.
Sí.
Todo esto es muy importante, porque Alex y Xavier, yo no te puedo decir las cantidades de veces que me han llamado mis clientes a decirme ¿y por qué mi carro fue dado pérdida total y no me dieron lo que yo pensaba que me iba a dar? Y yo les digo, bueno, es muy simple, el dealer te vendió un carro que fue pérdida total y nunca te dijeron nada.
Supera.
Entonces, yo quiero que ellos sepan y que ustedes sepan que ustedes tienen todo el derecho de preguntarle al dealer que le está vendiendo el carro que le muestren el historial. Y si el dealer no le muestra el historial, el Carfax, pues...
Es un problema.
Algo pasa.
I wouldn't trust that guy.
Algo está escondiendo.
I'm not gonna buy that car.
Muchas gracias y te vas para el próximo dealer. Porque entonces no vale la pena que inviertas en algo que tú no, ¿me entiendes? Que tú no sabes si tiene algún problema, ¿no?
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, so basically what Miguel was saying is that when you buy a used car, one of the most important things is make sure that the dealer gives you a history, through Carfax of what that car, from its inception to today, what happened to the car, if there's any accident, what type of accident there was, because that's very important from the insurance point of view, right? And if they don't want to give you that history.
Itself
One,
is a red flag.
yeah, one, it's a red flag, and two, you can
Yep.
you can get it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to pay for it, but it's probably worth it if you're going to buy a used car to do
insisting
that
on
anyway.
that
But it's
particular-
like buying a house. I mean, there's an inspector that goes to the house, right? You buy a house, you don't assume that everything is perfect in the house. You get an inspector to go check the foundation, if there's
Exactly.
mold, and how's the roof, and how's the how the windows and the screens, and et cetera. So it's the same concept. Yeah.
Miguel
Can I say
Carolina,
something?
you have some fans. Laura Medina de Alfonso says, excellent work, serious insurance, and buen
Gracias.
consejo.
Thank you.
And Carlos C. Tarambriseño says, excellent, my friend Miguel and Carolina.
Thank you.
Gracias
Gracias.
por mirar, Carlos y Laura. And so, Carolina, yo no quiero preguntar como una nueva agente, ¿cómo trabaja mucho con clientes latinos?
Sí.
¿Cuál es el punto de contacto entre un latino que te dice, bueno, yo quiero saber más con seguros y yo quiero hablar con Carolina? Porque
Sí.
es un poco del proceso.
Sí, hace poco, casualidad, tuve una llamada que muchos clientes nos llaman, a veces nosotros tenemos en inglés y a veces en español, pero a veces ellos se sienten tan contentos y dicen, por fin hablan español, ¿no? Entonces, gracias, necesitamos personas que hablen en español, y entonces a veces para nosotros es importante explicarle a nuestros clientes que están comprando, porque a veces ellos saben que necesitan un seguro de auto o un seguro de casa, pero no saben bien lo que están comprando. Entonces ahí es donde nosotros, pues es más fácil en nuestro propio idioma explicarles qué necesitan, cuáles son las liability, cuáles están comprando acerca de full cover, y ellos se sienten como más en confianza de que, ok, por fin sé lo que es un seguro de carro, ¿no? Que no, a qué debo abstenerme, qué es lo que me está protegiendo, y esa parte de la confianza entre nuestra misma comunidad, yo creo que es lo que no hemos ganado la confianza de los clientes por eso, por esa comunicación que tenemos con ellos.
La importancia de la educación, the importance of educating the client.
Absolutely.
Educarlos a ellos, ya.
Perfectamente, porque you're sitting there saying you have this insurance, and sometimes I think it's that and not just Latinos, but also anyone. You sit there and
Absolutely.
say, yeah, I have car insurance, I'm good.
Exactly.
Do you know what that
What that means?
In other
Yeah.
words, when you actually get into that accident,
Yeah.
what does it mean that you can't just say, I have car insurance?
Sure. I
Give me
Yeah,
the whole price of my car.
Yeah, you got to look at everything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you got to look at, how much what's the premium, what's the deductible,
Exactly.
what's it covering, how much it's covering, right?
Yeah, Alex, Xavier, 80% of the people that come to my office, they have no idea what kind of coverage they have. Mostly from the Latino, community. So this is where we come in and, explain in detail, step by step, all the coverage that they have, or what they used to have versus what they're going to have now, which is probably going to be better coverage, more benefits. And that's the important thing. Most people think that we are in the insurance business. I like to think that we are in the business of people. Because
Exactly.
basically, what we do every day is literally help people and find solutions, options for them. As opposed to, closing a deal, buying a policy. We don't do that. We my customers can tell you, anytime, any day that most of the calls is just service calls, things that they don't know, ask questions. So we are there, we're here for there. Every time they have a very, one of those questions that they don't know, nobody has educated or nobody has told them about. So.
Actually, that was a great line. We're not in the insurance business. We're in the people business, right? And when you think about it, a lot of entrepreneurs, right, they probably feel that way, right? We're in the people business, right? Because again, the service that you provide, and in this case, it's education, right? Because I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, when was the last time any of us picked up the insurance and reread it again to see, what does it say? What does it cover? What am I covered for? I mean, you have it. When you first start, you think about it, but then after that, you forget all about what's even covered, right? Mm-hmm. And I can think of, just think about English being your second language, how challenging it must be for you to read something in English that is written by some lawyer out there that wants to make sure he's covering everything. Exactly.
Yeah. You can converse perfectly in English, but you're like, I don't even know what this word means in English, in Spanish, I don't know in English. I mean, it's that complicated.
And actually it happens a lot, right? Sometimes they send us photo and a picture. What is this? I don't understand. I need a lawyer. No, it's just a letter from the DMV or it's just, a payment that you need to make it soon. But that is the part that when we talk to them, I say, relax, everything is okay. We are here for you,
And we try to explain, everything that covers, all the coverage that they have, every policy has, in a way, that people can understand. Because if you go line by line of what the contract says, they're going to be worse. So they have no,
their eyes glazed over there.
They're going to have 1,000 questions after that. So, we explain it in a way that, that in plain English or plain Spanish, that they can understand. And then, our clients, our customers, they feel more comfortable. They know a lot of things that they never knew before, and they know what to expect, which is important in case, back to what we were talking about, in case of accidents, if they get into, God forbid, a lawsuit or something, that having the lower liability, it's not the best thing. It's the cheapest, but it's not the best. You don't want to have the minimum. You always want to have more, because if you get into a lawsuit, then things are going to get complicated for the person. So.
Absolutely, it's so important. It's the education business. I think we're all professionals here, right? That's what you do, right? It's not a matter of, I sell you my service and then I'm done with you. It's, no. It's a matter of constantly educating. So, here's what you need to know. Here's what's important. All this complicated, concepts. Here's how it affects you. Exactly. Here's how all this legalese in the contract affects you. And when you get into that accident or something happens in your home or you need to use this type of insurance, what's going to happen and how this is going to look.
Yeah. It is like that, and this is one of the vital reasons that have made my agency in the beginning and now and in the future very successful. We personalize our service. When every client, every customer call our office, they feel like they're talking to a friend, and that's the end of it. At the end of the day, that's what makes me whole, because I know I've done my job well, and I want to take the opportunity to thank all my customers and my loyal clients. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your support, and I want you to know that in my insurance, my agency, you will always have the service that you deserve.
Absolutely, love it.
Absolutely.
What better way to put it? Y finalmente yo siempre quiero preguntar, ¿dónde se pone en contacto con ustedes?
Nos pueden llamar al 434-956-4458. También nos pueden buscar en Facebook a Miguel Coradine Sirius Insurance, y también en la website es www.craddocksirius.com. ¿Es claro?
Y WhatsApp.
WhatsApp también.
Tenemos personalizados. Entendemos la importancia de que muchos de nuestros clientes manejan
el servicio de WhatsApp,
y también nos pueden contactar al 434-409-4133, y ahí van a tener siempre servicios personalizados directamente desde la aplicación de WhatsApp.
Perfecto. So even better. So you've got phone, you've got WhatsApp, and of course you've got Miguel Coradine Sirius Insurance on Facebook, and you said CraddockSirius.com. So many ways to get in touch.
There's no way to miss them.
There's no way to not be able to get in touch with Miguel Karolina. Miguel Karolina.
Gracias.
Muchísimas
Gracias a ustedes.
Gracias a ustedes.
Felicidades de nuevo por el aniversario.
Es un placer conocerla.
Gracias igualmente.
Muchas gracias y bueno, adelante.
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 Siempre,
Forward
seguimos
adelante.
Forward adelante. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Siempre es un placer.
Un placer para
Gracias,
todos.
gracias.
Ah, so
And
actually-
that was good. So
That's
I mean,
always so
like I
much
said,
great
I love that line.
information.
We're in the people business. I love that line. That's
So do
a
I.
great
So
line.
do I.
You know.
Just a quick shout out and thank you to Laura Medina de Alfonso, who says, thank you, Alex and Xavier, for your program in support of the Latino community. Congratulations. And we thank you, Laura.
Gracias,
We
thank
really
you.
appreciate. We wouldn't be here if wonderful
no,
Latinos like
absolutely, yeah.
yourself didn't watch and contribute and
Without all the ears out there and
Exactly.
eyes, yeah, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, so we really appreciate you watching. Muchísimas gracias, Laura. And so just, always, that
Here
was
we are.
really, just, I mean, as someone who's never been in a car accident, like, it's true, like,
No,
you have
that's
no
right.
idea what you would do
Yeah.
if it happened, and you sit there and be like, what would I do? What would I call? Would I
Yeah.
remember to take
Yeah,
pictures?
because you panic. The first instinct is to panic, right? And so then you don't know what you got to do. But yeah, I mean, it's probably the most important thing is try to figure out if you're hurt, right? And then
Exactly.
after that, go through a process making sure that if the accident looks bad, call 911, get the
Yep.
police out there, and begin to take pictures. Because I think Miguel's absolutely right. Take pictures before those cars are moved, because that picture is going to tell you exactly what happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, so of course, for our little anniversary celebration segment, we're really excited to bring back on the team that made the Christmas special so exciting. We've got Nickolas Urpí and Michael Urpí from Emergent Financial Services.
You want to look at their names.
I
right?
was
You
going to say, look
I
down at the
remember
page to
have,
see if you can remember our names.
To be fair, to be totally clear, their names are not written
Oh, okay,
on my
yeah.
cheat sheet. I did not.
Oh, okay,
their
all right.
names.
Just in case,
I was
just in
just
case.
moving it, so I was like, no, I'd be in big trouble if I'm forgetting my brother's names on
Yeah.
live on air.
Live on air.
Live on air. So,
Well,
guys,
happy
thanks so much
anniversary,
for
guys.
Thank you.
yeah,
Well,
coming.
It's good to be here.
I just want to say that. I mean, they've all been on the show. You know,
Yep.
I know Nickolas a little more than Michael, but I know
Although
he.
Michael was the first.
He did the
Michael
great.
was the
Well, he
first
did a
of the
one of
other
us.
and
is,
he did a
to
great
host.
job of filling in for me, and I was really nervous that day because I said, this is not going to be good for me. I mean, if he's so good, I mean, what are they what's going to happen to me? But this show, like we said the first time, the first day was brutal. More before we got here, we just trying to figure out how we got ourselves into this mess of having to air a show.
How did we become
right?
hosts of a show on
Exactly.
the I Love CVille
To be
Network?
fair, Michael and I were not nervous that day.
No, I know you weren't. Yeah. I'm sure of that.
We were fine.
You were back at the
We were
office.
sitting back laughing as you two sweated your way down to the studio.
But it's been a great ride. I know that, and I know that I have to give enormous credit to Nickolas for how many people he gets on
Yeah.
the show, right?
So many of
how
the-
many
our guests and our
guests
partners.
come through that, and I know Michael behind the scenes. All I know is that my Facebook gets lit up
Yeah.
every once in a
Well,
while with
would
clips
you see those
of here,
Facebook
there.
clips, those Instagram clips?
Yes.
That's Michael's great work.
Absolutely. So, I
Put
mean,
that
I
together.
take my hat off to you guys because I'll be honest with you. I know I say this all the time, but it's the absolute truth, right? I mean, my job here is easy. I just come, I chat, I'm done.
Sometimes there's even food and drink.
Absolutely. That's even better. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
sometimes
it.
you need a
but
little
but I
free
know
sample.
you guys behind the scene is that where all the work gets done. So thank you to both of you for all that work. Because without you, and without the audience, of course, but without you guys, today, Mañana wouldn't be what it is today. So thank you.
We know.
So
You're welcome.
Absolutely. And I mean, look at this.
thank you.
We are more than well aware.
Thank
of
you,
all the things
Father. We know.
All right, love
Oh,
this.
now.
To help
You're not
us
telling
out,
us anything new.
to help us out with our anniversary schedule, we've got Kevin Higgins with a question for
Oh,
us.
thank
And I love
goodness.
this question. It's like, all right, so his question is,
Okay.
what made Charlottesville great to you? What do you love about Charlottesville?
Oh.
Since we've been doing this now, we have so many wonderful businesses.
That is a great question.
That's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
question.
I know right away. It's like
Go ahead.
it's the small business. It's all the small businesses that we have available, and that they are constantly growing. I have to admit, out of all the places we've been, the amount of new places that spring up is just astounding in Charlottesville. Like even when things go sour, and like unfortunately some businesses have closed,
Right.
establishments that we've loved for so long, but they get replaced, and they get replaced by people who are entrepreneurs that want to start something different or have a great idea. I mean, just look at the list of our sponsors of people who are doing things that we love but are different, whether it's the hand washed car, you know, that Jeff was on this at the beginning of this morning of this show, or Vitae Spirits doing their spirits completely different from anything we've ever tasted.
True.
Castle Hill Cider is doing things
I've never
different up
tasted a
there.
cider like that.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's just people bringing their passion, making and you know, becoming entrepreneurs and establishing themselves in Charlottesville, and that's what makes Charlottesville great to me.
How about you?
I would say, I mean, being a big sports fan and stuff like that, having the university by is probably what I would say makes Charlottesville great. Going to basketball games and football games and activities and events that the university provides. I think that's what I would say.
Absolutely as well. Yeah, I think that combination of things. I think the fact that Charlottesville, at least for me, it has this beautiful combination of things that you would associate with a larger city. You know, so many different cuisines. How many places? Especially where we moved from. How many places where you can go out and I can find Cuban food, I can find Mexican food, I can find food from El Salvador, I can find food from Peru, I can find food from Turkey, I can find food from China, I can find food from Korea. You just find so many different types of cuisine that you could go here, and you have, like you said, you have the sports that you would associate with a big city. You have the lectures, you have the symphony that you would associate with a big city. All these things are part of that because we have a university here. But yet it doesn't feel like when I drive places, I'm not sitting there for 2 hours in traffic to go 20 miles. I'm not, experiencing the rush of being in a big city all the time, the crowdedness. When you drive into downtown Charlottesville and you walk the mall, it's not like you're sitting there and you've got huge, enormous skyscrapers that block out the sun, and you're not enjoying. You have
To block out the sun.
It's true, though.
One of the classic things about large cities, of course, is like, and they found this even from way back. Like, people in large cities get less sunlight.
Yeah.
Because your streets are narrow and your buildings are tall. But here you have so much of the outdoors. You drive 10 minutes out of Charlottesville. Just the other day, recently, I went to Ashlawn Highland. What they thought, now they know it was a guest house, but James Monroe was there. And like, where else can you drive 10, 15 minutes? And you're essentially out in the countryside. You've got beautiful trails. You've got a historic home. You've got animals. You've got, there's cows there. There's sheep. There was even 2 donkeys. And that's 15 minutes away from where we live, 10 minutes away from downtown Charlottesville. We're at the university, and you can go to a basketball game at John Paul Jones or a football game.
Yeah, you really never have more than half an hour away from a good hike.
Yeah, it's true. And the beauty is, you would span that to like some of the things you have at Crozet and some of the, the cideries, the wineries, the people we've found. You're within an hour of getting away into the countryside and enjoying a great experience. And within an hour, conversely, right, within an hour of things that you would say, oh, no, I'm going to have to go to D.C. or Richmond to experience this.
Well, you guys basically covered everything, but you
Well,
literally stole my thunder because
I know what yours is. It's Emergent Financial Services. That's my favorite thing about Charlottesville is Emergent Financial Services. So go on. Sorry.
But you stole my thunder because one of the things I remember when I used to live in New York, whenever we wanted to do something, again, whether we go to the beach, whether we go to the country, just get away, even going into the city, it took a good hour, and in some places 2 hours. And then if you did this on a weekend, you're talking traffic. I remember going to the beach and coming back, and you're sitting in traffic for 3 hours. So a great time you had at the beach turns out to a very sour 3 hours sitting in the car, right? And the beauty about Charlottesville is that you have everything, you talked about, you have everything that the city provides, maybe not in the highest of qualities. Granted, we have the symphony here, right, which we all love, that kind of music, right, the classical music. We have the sports, and I love basketball, I love football, I love baseball, right? So, granted, it's not the professional sport, but it's in some cases it's more exciting at this point.
Some of the best that you can get
absolutely
from college sports. You've got national championship baseball, national
exactly,
championship basketball.
and it's exciting. At some points it's even more exciting. And as you mentioned, it's like it only takes me 10 minutes to get there, right? So it doesn't consume. It doesn't have to me think about. So want to spend 2 hours traveling to see this or to be there or to go here. And, when you're young, it doesn't feel that bad. I mean, I used to do it a lot in New York, but you get to a certain age where it's like, I'm not spending 2 hours in traffic anymore, right? And so Charleston gives you everything you want from a big city, right? But to get there, the quality of time, your time is extremely valuable. To give it away to traffic is a waste of time, right? So in today's world, boy, if I can just do everything I want to do and get there in, like you said, 10 to 30 minutes, thank you very much. And then, yes, I mean, I love our business. It's, Miguel's right. It's a people business, and I say this wholeheartedly. I dealt mostly with institutions all my life, dealing with families, with people. It's a godsend. I love it. I love talking to people and listening to them, seeing what they're looking for, what their needs are, and I say this all the time. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Sometimes people come in for their, we spend an hour with them, to go over their portfolio. We spend 10 minutes on their portfolio, and the next 50 minutes we talk about life.
How life is going,
and that's what because that's what it's all about, right? And it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean,
It's very rewarding.
That too.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
It is. A double shout out to thank you, Jorge, for watching. Thank you, Marta from Spain. Is watching
Marta,
the show.
¿cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás? Gracias por mirar el programa. And then two big shout outs to two good friends of ours. First, Johan Torres says a fuerte abrazo para Miguel y Carolina. And he says, felicidades a Xavier y Alex por su aniversario de Today y Mañana. Son orgullo hispano.
Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Johan.
Johan.
As well as Johnny Ornella says, happy anniversary, amigos. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
Appreciate it so much. And so, I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you guys is, so as we go into show 50, going onward, what are you excited about for Today and Mañana this year?
Well,
And
I've got the
second year.
lineup all set. I know who's coming on until March.
So you have the cheat sheet. You
I have
know
the cheat
exactly
sheet.
all the
I
great people
scheduled
coming
all
on.
the guests, so I know what I'm going to be excited about. Everyone, and obviously Xavier's going to be excited about the fact that every single week is going to be a surprise to him, and he's going to come in
great, yeah.
and have fun with people. So
I mean, every once in a
we got
while,
that answer.
every once in a while, I mean, and Nikki will ask me, you think we can have somebody, was a cheesemaker?
Yeah, I
a
said,
cheesemaker?
let's try to get a
I
cheesemaker.
said, cheesemaker, sure. I mean, that sounds
I even
delicious.
told them, how about the nuns from Crozet then?
Well, I think they're
We could get
cloistered.
them.
I don't think you can get
Well,
them.
no,
Yeah.
you can go to
The
mass with
cheese-making
them.
nuns.
You
What?
can go to
Yeah, but they
mass
can't come
with them.
here. I mean,
No,
that's
but
the
they're not
point.
going to come on the show.
Well,
They don't
we'll
leave.
see. Maybe we could zoom in.
Somehow I don't think we're going to cloistered nuns from making cheese.
Well, you never know.
on
It could
Zoom.
be interesting.
That would be a great achievement. That might even surpass getting Miss Virginia USA on the show. If you could get a cloistered nun to zoom in.
If I could get a mime to talk, yeah, that would be like today.
A cloistered nun making
highlight, right?
cheese and Crozet to zoom into Today Mañana, we would give you an award even more than.
Now, is this Miss Virginia thing like a yearly event?
I
Do they have
wouldn't
one
know.
of
We'll
those
see.
every
We get
year?
this next year's.
Because I mean, you just, I mean, I'm just
I know
saying.
last year's.
I'm just saying.
That was probably our biggest, most high profile interview.
No, they're all great. I
No,
just
we are the most high-profile interview. Michael and I are the most high-profile interview.
I don't think we
you'll
have
ever
as
get.
many followers as.
But either
as
way,
that one.
no. I mean, listen. The idea is right. We're definitely doing Central Virginia, and part of what we're trying to do, right, is try to branch out a little bit while
Right.
maintain the Charlottesville focus. So, and to be honest, it's not quite as hard as you would think it is, but it's just sort of like, what's different, what's new, what are people doing here in Charlottesville and doing it in different ways, and those people are, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of emails, there's a lot of reaching out, there's a lot of people who are too shy to come on, which is, it is what it is. Like, it's hard to come on sometimes
It
for
is.
people to sell themselves. It's probably one of the hardest things in business, but there's also a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'll come on. That sounds great. Sounds like a good
they
time.
say that on Facebook like that.
I remember.
Yeah, I'll come on.
Our good friend Michael Amon, he said, "So tell me about the show," and I told him about it, and his response was, "Sounds like fun. Let's do it." And
There
then
you
he
go.
came on.
Yeah.
And
But
it
that's
was
the
fun.
response of a lot of people. Just sort of like, that sounds like fun. Let's do it. And so I've had a lot of people scheduled. They're just, just, I mean, at this point, Ian just sort of like is just like
Our friend
he
from
gets
Vitae
excited.
Spirits.
Yes, Ian Glomsky from VT Spirits. He just gets excited because whenever he's got new stuff, he just teases us. Like he'll tease me. So he already teased me that like he's got something planned for his appearance. So just make sure you tune in for that because like again, he just comes on and has fun. And he knows that we're gonna love it. So I mean, so that's what I like about Today Mañana.
What you think, Mike? What would you like to see this year?
Well, let Pops go first. That's why I
While you
kind of collect my
contemplate.
thoughts. Yeah.
What are you looking forward to?
I was hoping you go first, so I get my thoughts. No, I just listen. I mean, it's just at this point, it's I get up Thursdays and I'm excited, right? And so what I hope for is just to get more people, more diversity in the sense of, we've tried very hard to get the Hispanics in here, and I know part of it sometimes is the fact that the time just doesn't work for them, and obviously they're hardworking folks, and it's like this just doesn't fit my schedule, right?
Like we were talking with Jeff, they're in that earlier
Yes,
stage of business
yes.
where they don't have the people to delegate to yet.
Exactly.
So sometimes it can take a little longer to come on, but
I think that will happen. I think that will happen, and so I think this is a show that will grow, and the people that come on will grow with us, and I think that's the beauty to be. I mean, listen, I had a great time just this morning, with Jeff and Miguel and Karolina, and these are people that are helping us, right? They're partners with us, and to listen to them, right? To learn from them, because I learned from them also. Absolutely. That's the beauty, and I think that's the hope. And hope is that one, we continue to grow. We learn, they learn from us, and I think
learns.
everybody, and obviously,
they do,
hopefully the audience, enjoys it and also learns, and I think that's an important thing. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to this year bringing some people a lot, because I know, looking at our schedule as well, we've got some people that we're bringing back, and I'm excited to check in with them and say, all right, we talked to you at beginning of 2021. How are you doing now? Like, what's new? What's changes? As with small business, there's always something exciting and new going on. That entrepreneurs, they never stop going.
That's right.
Like, we never sit there and say, actually, no, nothing's changed since last year. It never works that way. So there's always something new and exciting. So I'm looking forward to a lot of the guests that we're going to bring back, like Ian. I know we've got Lily DeRay from Seattle Creative coming back. Right. We just had Jeff and Miguel back. And so just to have people come back and say, here's what's going on, here's what I'm thinking, here's some ideas I'm working through, and I love that part.
Me too.
Yeah, and I would say for me, it's every Thursday, it's really cool to see the amazing people and different things that all these people do, and I guess I'm excited to see what Nick has in store. I'm like Pops, and I get surprised every week because I don't know who's coming on. So
he gets the back end. I mean, he Michael gets the back end after Judah sends you guys, because I just know, because all of a sudden I see Michael working and doing all that, so he knows who we have.
I get the pleasure of watching the show like 5 times.
You just multiple times. Kevin Hiddens asked us who's the Urpí you talked about the most, and I said, I don't know if the answer to that one, but I know the Urpí we try to talk about least is Nick. So
but because of that, though, you actually do end up talking about me the most.
Ironically, it's true.
You talk about, like, if something's like a great guest or whatever, you just have to bring me up.
It depends on the topic, right?
That's true. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. I mean, everybody has. I mean, when Michael was hosting with me, we had a great time with the talking about how much we wanted that delicious.
Oh, absolutely.
From Mark and Vicky from the 12.
Yes, yeah.
The delicious bread pudding.
Pudding, yes. And what was that? What was called? It had maple bourbon.
Apple bourbon.
There you are.
Maple bread pudding.
Yeah.
Which really, we ended up having it.
Yes,
that was delicious.
They were kind enough to bring us to us in their office, and boy, that was delicious.
Yeah, that's another one you definitely check out the 12, because they're still doing on Fridays. You can go to their the cooler and get some and purchase yourself some good little Friday meal and some dessert that they have there.
One thing we should have once in a blue moon is like a little sports section, because I have to admit, out of all of, I mean, I love I love sports. I love watching sports.
And Michael's the most
I love participating.
out of everybody.
Well, he's like, I mean, sometimes it's like I even get upset because he tells me what's going to happen. I'm saying, how does he know? And all of a sudden it happens. And it happens so often that's like, what does he have, like a direct line to the coach or something?
Yeah.
It's like he has a sixth sense, right?
Yeah.
Of what's going to happen in a game or why did they do this? And then the announcers say, well, why did they do this? I say, I told you. It's like,
It's true. It's true. So, yeah, we should do that. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, sometimes when I come on Jerry's show, he's just finished the
UVA,
UVA football or UVA
basketball, yeah.
So we can throw in a little sports.
Yeah, we
segment.
should, yeah.
Have him on, say just what's
That's
going on,
that's a
what are
lot
you
of fun.
talking about,
Yeah.
sports, and maybe every once in a while a little movies segment. Love talking a little what's
No,
playing.
that could get us into trouble.
Into trouble.
The movies can get us in trouble because we get a little bit too animated now.
Too animated. This was a terrible film. Yeah, we don't want to turn too much into the film.
Oh, and then the last thing we want is somebody to say, "Have you seen this movie?" And we're like, "Oh, now we have to see it because we have to review it because now that's what we do." It's like there's some movies out there I just don't. I do not want to see the new West Side Story. I'm not going to. So if we get into that and they're like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "No, I'm not watching it. I don't know. I didn't watch the old one. I'm not gonna watch the new one."
Oh my goodness. Eddie Moreno says, saludos, muy interesante su programa.
hello,
Gracias
Eddie.
por
Gracias, Eddie.
mirar, Eddie. I'm looking forward just so much that's going to happen this year. And
Yeah, me too.
it'll be good. It's been a good year one. I think it's going to be a great year two.
I agree,
We
100%.
go from driving Judah crazy in year one to driving Judah crazy in year two.
Driving Judah more crazy.
Crazy, yeah,
more
crazier.
No, let's try not to get him too crazy too
Look what we
fast.
pulled on him today. We're like, all right, one guest, two guests,
Three
guests, yeah.
Here's the names, here's the segments, here's the thing. So we'll try not to keep him 2 days. Which reminds me, I mean, we do want to give a super huge thanks both to Jerry
Yeah.
for
Jerry
taking this,
for reaching out to
for
us.
reaching out to us in the first place. Hey,
In the
I know
first
I'm going
place.
to use
There you
this
are.
little sound thing.
There you are.
Right here, and to Judah for just making every
Yeah, no,
show work.
Judah's amazing. I have to
Behind the
admit,
scenes.
it's what he does. You know, he's just back there behind that computer, constantly doing
Anyways.
things and fixing things, and
And he
I
is
mean,
great at it,
yeah,
so we
he is,
really
he is.
appreciate it.
He
So I
takes
appreciate
all your
both.
flaws and just like wipes
Oh,
them
absolutely.
away.
On the fly too.
On the fly. Which is difficult to do because
Because they come running
God
after the
knows
other.
your
I
wife's been
understand. I
trying to
understand.
smooth you over for years and it hasn't worked.
So just really appreciate everything that's gone into making this happen.
Yeah. So
Just
thank you.
looking forward
Thank
to
you
it.
to all, and thank you to the audience,
And
because I
thank you to
know
the audience.
that they've grown in size, and they put up with us every
Well, they send
every
us
Thursday.
questions, they send us comments, and just really appreciate the interaction that you all have for the show
Yes.
and the love you guys have for today, Mañana. Just appreciate definitely our partners that make this happen, that made us be able to come on here, week after week. So I mean, thanks to Castle Hill Cider for joining us, becoming a new partner. Of course, we got Aqua Hand Car Wash, we got Sirius Craddock Insurance, Vitae Spirits, GBS Financial Services, CVille Picnic. Just really appreciate all of you for what you do and for partnering with us. Thanks to Emergent Financial Services
Thank you.
for coming on here today on the show, and of course with Forward Adelante. We just love working with the Latino community and helping grow all those amazing small businesses. So it's really just been a great pleasure, and thanks so much to you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been a blast, just enjoying what we've done over the past year with both of you guys.
And looking
Thank you, guys.
bravely into the future and doing it more.
I think our future's
Are you
squarely
going to?
in
Are you
the
going
eye.
to tell me who's on next week?
Yes, next week,
Alex
a lot
will
of
tell
fun.
you.
I know who's on next week.
I know you do.
It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have on Amanda Delgado, the managing member, and Justin Tooley, head trainer at the gym.
Oh.
In all caps, it's like the gym.
Oh, the gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is gonna join us next week. So a local small business, and we'll just talk with them and see what they're about, what they do, what you can experience there. So they're gonna join us next week. So it'll also be a great
And
time.
we're hoping the
Terrific.
trainer will give you some tips to get swole, bro.
Had to,
I would-
had to
I-
put that in.
yeah,
See, this is
yeah.
why we try not to have them on too often.
I wouldn't
'Cause
test
you
that.
just need to bulk up just a little
Just
bit.
a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I've been eating more. I'm trying.
Yeah, in the wrong
See,
way.
he's bulking up.
Yeah.
He's working on it.
He's like the hobbits from Lord of the Rings. Is like they don't grow except sideways.
Yeah, that's fine with me. At this age, sideways is just as good as this way.
Yeah.
that ain't happening.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you, the audience. Thanks to I Love CVille Network. And we're just really excited to see what comes next and to see you all next week. But until that time, as we love to say, hasta mañana.